Here we go. Are you ready to make a donut stack? So today is all about showing you how to make your donuts in the appropriate sizes to make a stack. Okay. I'm using blush number 30, was called cerise. It's number 30. So the name might have changed, but as long as the number's the same, this is the same color. Okay. It's a blush pink. The color in this video is still not quite right. I'm still trying to get it right, but it's a blush pink and it's a pretty color, and it is color that I think we will do a project with these donuts with. But when I'm doing my clay management, I'm looking for clay that's getting to the point of being really, really rubbery and not good for, like, this clay here at this consistency is actually really good for rolling and covering and things like that. But it's definitely no good for spreadable piping or, so for me, it was great quantity that I was going to get a decent amount of donuts out of, and also at a stage in its life cycle where it sort of needed to get used up soon because it was getting pretty rubbery. The downfall of using clay that is getting quite rubbery is that you do have to try and get a little bit of moisture back into it so that when you go to form your round ball or whatever you're doing with it, that you don't get all of these cracks in it, because they don't disappear. So if you look at your finished clay product and you can see lines and marks and stuff in it, they're not going to disappear. They sort of swell out a little tiny bit, but for the most part, they're going to stay in there. So when you're making a round ball to make a donut, you need it smooth. And so if you're using rubbery clay, you're going to have to use a fair bit of water. So this is not a proper log. This is just rolled out to give us an idea. And all depending on how many donuts you want will depend on this first size. This is not going to make a massive big donut. So I can't give you a size because it all depends on the size of the log. But the best thing to do is roll out that first one and just see what size donut that gives you when you sort of squish it down. Don't worry about doing anything fancy with getting the shape right. Just squish it down and go, okay, I need a donut bigger than that, and then cut more off. So get the first one right, and then I'll show you what you're doing. So you can see that as I cut, I use that as my guide, and I cut slightly less the next time. So you watch this. So I'll hold it up against it, and I cut slightly less than what I'd cut previously. And I just keep working my way down and doing that. So what are we going to get there? 4, 5, 6. No, we're going to go 7. Which is going to be a pretty small donut at the end, as you can see. And I'm like, there is no way I'm going to put that clay away. Let's put it in the first one. And I'm like, oh, just in case it puts the size out too much, we better add a bit to the second one. So we've got 7. But like I said, we're not going to end up with a huge donut stack from the diameter of the first one. And it is really the first one that makes that difference. So while I'm working this, it's going to take me a little while to work each one of these donut balls. So I'm just going to cover my clay to stop it getting any drier than it already is, just by putting a piece of plastic over the top. Now, once I do this first one with you, I'm going to speed this up because you do not need to sit here and watch me do each one of these. But this will give you a guide on how long it took me. And again, keeping in mind that I'm working with quite rubbery clay. And you'll see that I work this clay trying to make sure I get those lines out. Just adding water to it. Adding the water does make it a little bit sticky. And you just got to keep working the clay past that point of stickiness. And it can get a little bit sort of, here's a lack of a better description. It sort of can be real slippery on your table where there's already water. Then it goes, so it'll go from that slippery on the water to sticky to working it past that point and getting that consistency back nicely again. And so you can see all of those marks in that. That's what I'm working that clay. That's why I'm rolling that clay, trying to smooth out that surface. And once I get my surface quite smooth, then I know that I'm ready to make my donut. Now, keep in mind, if you're making a donut stack, they're going to keep getting covered and you're going to be covering them with icing. So it's like the sides of it that you want to make sure are nice and neat. If you're making a stack and you're putting it on a dowel stand, you want to make sure that the hole in the center is big enough for the dowel stand. And you'll see that I do like to also just turn in that little inner circle, just press it down, just to fold it in, get a nice shape. Donut number 1. Let's go a bit faster. Oh, that's better, isn't it? Wouldn't it be nice if you could do them at that pace? And I'm not doing anything different. The one thing I will say to you is when you put them on I'm putting these on a piece of EVA sheeting, foam sheeting, just because as they're sitting there drying, the bottom isn't going to get all crinkled up like it does on a piece of parchment paper. They can sometimes stick to the EVA, and if you find that they're sticking, just keep leaving them to dry. Do not leave them on the EVA without turning them, because what will happen is the top will dry, but the bottom won't dry. And if it stays like that for too long and too much moisture stays in them, they can go moldy. So be aware of that. And also you can see my two on the bottom of that sheet are sitting very close to each other, and they end up touching each other and getting a bit stuck. That was a bit silly. Now I've got a little tiny hole there. I'm just creating a little tiny ball, sticking that in, a little bit of water, massaging and filling that little hole that I had. So can you see the sizes? See how the sizes, we've got that gradient now where it's sort of going down in size. That's what you want to create when you're doing your donut stack. And we will do another one on another day where I show you how to ombre, and you can take your colors from your darker to your lighter or vice versa, which is a very pretty donut stack to do. I love making donut stacks. See that? It got stuck on me. Well, I put them too close. It didn't do it on purpose. It didn't jump over there and do it itself. I did that without thinking. So each one of these I'm doing exactly the same thing. I'm just working the ball until I get that nice, smooth consistency. And you can use a little bit of water to help you to do that. I hope this has been helpful. Leave me a comment, let me know. And that is really a pretty color.